Hey everybody, Unit 5, Module 5, Lesson number 1. This is the homework helper. We're on page 135. So today we're talking about 10 more or 10 less, 100 more, 100 less. So what we're talking about when we're talking about place value language, if I'm saying 10 more, or 10 less, I'm only going to be adjusting the digit in the tens place. The hundreds and the ones are staying the same. If I'm doing the 100 more or 100 less, then I am looking at the digit in the hundreds place. All right? That's all we're doing today. We're going to be talking about 10 more or 10 less, and then we're also going to be completing patterns. When you complete a pattern, you have to look at the numbers that are given to you and decide what is the rule here. Are they going up or going down? Are they going up by 10 or are they going up by 100? That's all we're doing. So go ahead and turn to page 137 now. And if I go too fast, feel free to pause or rewind or whatever. So some of these are really straightforward and some of them get turned around, so you have to really think about them. But mostly we're going to be looking whether it's more or less, and we're looking to see if it's 10 more or 100. So the first one says 10 more than 222. 10 more than this number, so in the tens place, it's this middle 2. So here, there's 2 tens. If I'm adding one more 10 to 2 tens, that's going to be 3 tens. But I'm not changing my 100. Still going to be 200. Changing that 2 tens to 3 tens, and then I'm not changing the ones. So it's going to be 232. Here, we're changing by 100, and we're going to say it's more than this. So this time we have 222. We're going to be changing this 2 in the hundreds place. So that's going to be 300, and then our tens and ones are going to stay the same. Now we're doing less. 10 less than this. But again, tens, we're going to look at the tens place. So here we have 2 tens. We're going to take 1 10 away. 1 less than 2. So we're still going to have 2 hundreds. We're going to take 1 10 away. That's going to leave us with 1 10. And then we're not changing our ones. Here we're doing 100 less. So we're looking at the digit in the hundreds place. We're going to take one of those away. So it's only going to be 100. And then we're not changing the tens or the ones. Now, sometimes they confuse you by the way they word it. 515 is 10 more than this number. So this number has to be more than this number. That means that this number is less. If this number is less, then we have to take away this. Okay, this number is more. So we're going to take 110 away. Oh, there's only 110 there. So the hundreds will stay the same. But we had 110. We're going to take that away, so there'll be 0 tens. And the 5s stay the same. So 515 is 10 more than 505. 299 is 100 less than this number. So this number is less. That means that this number is more. So we are, even though it says 100 less, it's less than this number. So we have to add 100 to it. So we've got 200s here. We're going to add 100 more. 200 plus 100 is 300, and then we're not changing our tens and ones. Something is 100 less than 345. This number is less than this number. So we're going to take this away from this number to give us a smaller number here. 100 less. We have 3 hundreds. We're going to take one of them away. That'll give us 2 hundreds, and then our tens and ones are the same. Something is 10 more than this. So this number is more than this number. 10 more. But oh, it's tricky when it's a 9. So we have 9 tens and we need one more 10. If I have 9 tens, how much is one more 10 going to be? It's going to be 10 tens. What is 10 tens? It's 100. So not only am I going to change that 9 tens to 10 tens, that means that this time we do have to change our hundreds. Let's think of this a little bit differently. Let's hold 397 in our hand and we're going to count up 10. So 397, 398, 399, 400, 401, 402, 403, 404, 405, 406, 407. 407 is 10 more than 397. This time our hundreds did change, but only because we ended up with another 100 in our tens. That's tricky. All right, now this time we have to say if it is more or less, and we have to say if it's 10 more or 100 more or less. So we have 898 and 998. So is this number more than this number or less than this number? This number is less. This number is more. So this number is less. How much less? Are we changing a 10 or are we changing 100? We're changing the 100. So 898 is 100. Ooh, there's not enough room. Less than 998. Here we have 607. We need to know if that's more than 597 or less than 597. 607 is more. Is it 100 more or 10 more? This one is tricky, but think about up here. When there is a 10 in that middle space, then the 100 has to change also. So 607 is 10 more. Ten more than 309. What would 10 more be? We're going to add a 10 to this number. How many 10s are there now? 0. So if we add 1 to 0, how many 10s will there be? 1 10. So this is going to be 319. Last one up here, and then we're going to do the patterns, which are really fun. 309 is more or less than 319. It's less. 309 is less than 319. Are we changing in the hundreds place or the tens place? The tens place. Look, it's the same as this one. 309 is 10 less than 319. Okay, let's do the patterns. This time we just have to figure out what they're changing and write in the numbers. So it goes from 280 to 290. Are the numbers getting bigger or smaller? They are getting bigger. So are they changing by 100 every time? Are they changing the hundreds or are they changing the tens? The 100 didn't change. We went from 200 to 200. The tens changed. We had 280, 290. If we have one more 10, that's going to be the next 100, 300. And then 10 more, 310. And then 10 more, just changing this tens. Here we had one 10, so here we're going to have two tens, 320, and then 330. If you want to, you can pause and go ahead and do the next one on your own, and then push play when you're ready to check your work. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to see, are my numbers getting bigger or are my numbers getting smaller? To me, they're getting smaller. We have 530, 520, 510. My hundreds aren't changing, but my tens are. So we are taking away a 10 with each number. So if I have 110 and I take 110 away, I'm going to end up with 500. When you're crossing over that 100, that's always a little bit tricky. But if you had 100 and you took 110 away, so if you had 10 tens and you took 110 away, you'd end up with 9 tens. So we're basically decomposing one of these hundreds into 10 tens so that we can take a 10. That leaves us with 4 hundreds and 9 tens. 490, we're going to take 110 away. So we're going to have 400. How many tens? 80. 8 tens, 0 ones. All right. Same thing on all of these. Go ahead and pause, work it out yourself, and then come back and check. 643, 543, and then we end up here at 143. Looks to me like the tens and ones are staying the same, and it's the hundreds that are changing. So we go from 600 to 500 to 443. Take away another 100. 343, take away another 100, 243, take away 100, you're going to get to 143. Cool. 681, 691, my 100 didn't change, my tens did. Are they getting bigger or smaller? Bigger. Now again, we're going to be crossing. You have 9 tens. If I have to add a 10, I'm going to be changing my hundreds too, because 9 tens plus 1 10 is 10 tens. 10 tens is going to give me the next 100, and I'll have 0 tens here. So I'm going to move those 10 tens, and it's going to be 701. So now I have 0 tens. If I add a 10 to that, I'm going to have 711. If I add a 10 to that, here I have 1 10. I'm going to add another 10. I'm going to have 7, 2 tens, 1. From 721, we go to 731. All right, this is always tricky when they just start with 1, and down here they don't start with anything. So we're going to have to look at the ones at the end. We have 387, and then it goes to 377. So as we're going this way, we are getting smaller. We're taking 1 away from which? The hundreds or the tens? The tens. The hundreds didn't change. All right, so we're going to take 10 away from this number. Here's 2 tens. Take 1 away, you're going to only have 1 10. So it's going to be 400, 110, 17. If I take that 10 away from 1, there's going to be 0 tens. And then here's that thing I'm going to have to actually decompose one of these hundreds, right? Take 100 away, make it 10 tens, and we'll take 1 away. So this is going to be 397. If it's too complicated to decompose that, count it backwards. 407, 406, 405, 404, 403, 402, 401, 400, 399, 398, 397. It is so hard for me to count backwards. 397. Now down here, there's nothing at the beginning. It's all at the end. So I'm actually going to go backwards this time. So we have 768, 778, 788. Are the numbers, as we go this direction, are they getting bigger or smaller? They're getting bigger as we go this way. If you started up here, it'd be getting smaller, but we're going to go backwards. So I'm going to add 10. Here we have 8 tens. I'm going to add one more. So I'm going to have 798, and then up, have a 9. If I add a 10, it's going to be 10 tens, which means there's another 100 and 0 tens left. So another 100 would be 8, and then 0 tens, and the ones aren't changing. Add one more 10. Here there's 0. If I add 1, I'm going to have 818. You can go ahead and pause again if you need to catch up. I'm going to turn the page. The second page is the arrow way. So here they are telling us what to do, and we are just going to fill in the spaces. Sometimes we have to fill in what we're taking. Oh, here we do. We have to tell what we're going to take. All right, let's get started. We have 235, and we're going to add a 10. So from 3 tens, we're going to go up to 4 tens, 245. Here we're adding a 100. So we're going to change the 2, the 4, or the 5. 2 is in the hundreds place, so we're going to get one more 100, and it'll be 345. Here, look very carefully, we are taking away 100. So there's 3 hundreds. We're going to take one of them away, so there'll only be 2 hundreds. We're not touching the tens or the ones, so they stay the same. Now we're going to take away a 10. Is that the 2, the 9, or the 1? 9 is in the tens place, so we're going to take away one of those tens. We'll have 281. Down here, they're not telling us this middle one, but they do tell us where they end up. So we're going to have to think this through. We've got 417. We're taking away 10. That's the one here. If we have 1 10 and we take it away, we have 0 tens. Now, we're going to take something away and then 100 away. And we're going to end up with 297. So, at some point, we have to change the tens to get to a 9. We're going to take away one more 10 here. Take away another 10. If we counted that back, it would be 307. Then you take away 100, 297. We have 311. We're going to take 10. So here we have 1 10. We're going to take 1 away, and we're going to have 0 tens. We're going to take another 10. Crossing that 100 is tricky, but we're just going to go down into the 90s of the hundreds before. So it's going to be 200, 9 tens, and the ones aren't going to change. Now we're going to add 100. So from 291, we're going to change the hundreds this time. We're going to make it 391. Add another 100. So instead of 300s, we're going to have 491. And now we're going to add 10. So I don't know why we had to take that one away. add 10 to 9, we're going to have another 100. No tens and 1 in the ones place. Now, at the bottom, there are 3 more, and we are going to do the arrow way to solve these. All right, 370, we're going to add 110, but we're going to do it one step at a time. So, and I'm going to start with this first number, 370. I'm going to draw that arrow, and I'm going to break this up. It doesn't matter if you want to add the 10 or the 100 first. You can do it either way. So if I add 100, I'm going to change my 3 to a 4. So I'll have 470. And then I still need to add 10. So now adding a 10, I'm not going to change the 4 or the 0. I'm going to change the 7. So this is going to be 480. If you did it the other way, it would still be fine. You would go from 370 to 380 and then add 100, 480. The answer is this every time. This is what we added. We added 110. So again, here we have 290 plus something equals 400. Now usually if we have a missing part, we have to subtract. But sometimes it's easier to count up than to count back. Remember I was saying it's so hard. So what we're going to do is go from 290 and try to get to 400. So I'm going to start my arrow way with 290. Now, eventually, I need to get to 0 tens and 0 ones. So I'm going to start off with 10. If I add 10 to 90, I get 100. So instead of 200, we'll have 300. Now, what do I need to add to 300 to get 400? I'm going to add 100. That's going to change my 3. One more is going to be 400. So now I look at these two things that I added, and that's my missing part. I added 10 and I added 100. 110. 290 plus 110 equals 400. Otherwise, you can subtract 400 minus 290, but it's not nearly as easy to do that. All right, last one. Again, we have a missing part. And always a missing part we can subtract, but we can also count up. So I have 710, and I want to get to 850. So from 710, I'm going to start by adding 100. I'm going to change my 7 to an 8. My 10s and 1s stay the same. So I have 810. I want 850. Now, if you know how many 10s you need to add to get to 850, you can just add that all together right now. If you are not sure though, just add 10 at a time. Here we go. 810 plus 10. So we go from 1, we would have 2 10s. Not quite there yet. Add another 10. Can I add 100? No, that's going to shoot past. So I'm adding another 10. I'm going to get to 830. Still not there. I'm going to add another 10. That's going to give me 840. So close. Add another 10. From the 4, another 10, I'm going to have 850. So now, to find out what we added to 710, we need to look at these plus numbers up here. and add them together. So let's just count it out. We have 100, 110, 120, 130, 140. So 140 plus 710 equals 850. The arrow way is a really good strategy to know. It's not always the best strategy, but it's something you should be able to do. Thanks for working hard. I'll see you again tomorrow.